Well. Welcome back to another video, you juicy pineapples. Now, today's video, we're going to get into the late Moses Atalma versus Dillian White event. Now, we had some bangers on that card. Hrgovic and Adeleye. What a fight that was. That was mental. The same as Sam Goodman and, oh my God. My mind's gone blank. Sam Goodman and Nick Ball. What is wrong with me? Nick Ball and Sam Goodman, and then you had David Adeleye, Hrgovic, and also Dillian White and Moses Atalma. Now, that the Dillian White fight, was I expecting that? Was I expecting that outcome? Not that soon, to be honest. No, I weren't expecting it early. I don't know if anyone was really. I don't think I heard a prediction where they said first round KO. I don't think anybody did, far as I can remember anyway. But am I surprised at the same time? No, I'm not. Because it falls back onto an interview that I see Joseph Parker do. Now, he kind of contradicts himself in this interview that he says. He said about Dillian White, obviously the age catching up to him being 37, etc. But also, he said, well, he isn't surprised because what's he done? Has he sparred how many rounds in 3 years, 3 years? And hearing that come from Joseph Parker, somebody who's active, an active heavyweight, I'm thinking, well, the same goes for you. I mean, in the last 2 years, you've beaten out of shape Bacoli. That's it. And when you get an interview, especially when fights like Usyk and Daniel Dubois have just happened, you do hear fighters like Joseph Parker obviously coming out of the light because not only are they in attendance, but they are technically next in line for those shots. But if he's saying that against Dillian White, going against Moses Atalma about these rounds, etc., and then yes, fair enough. He's obviously been in the ring, he's been training, he's been sparring, etc. in these times where he hasn't had fights booked. However, how can you say you back yourself when it comes to fighting a generational great like Usyk, when yourself hasn't even been active in the actual ring? By the time you have a fight, come up to 2 years. It's going to be 2 years by the time you have a fight. That's crazy. You let somebody like Caballero take that shot for the inactivity. It's nuts. Because this is the thing, though. This is what happens when you wait for a fight. This is what happens when you wait for an outcome. You're not active. You're not active because fighters like Caballero, he wouldn't be in the talks if Joseph Parker was more active and winning more fights, because that would be Joseph Parker's shot and Joseph Parker's only. But because he's been so inactive where Caballero's been active, you've let somebody else be in these talks. So, I mean, it kind of falls both ways. But let's get more back into Atalma. Now, what do I think's next for Atalma? The more I think about it, I don't know. I don't know personally, because obviously Ben Davison is saying that it's a win-win if he fights Usyk next, which, yeah, it is. But is there any point? I don't know. I feel like it's too soon, but I feel like, who else in the same time? Like, who else? You could make Caballero and Atalma, but Caballero will want to get in there pretty much ASAP, same as Joseph Parker. So I wouldn't be surprised if Usyk takes longer time out, spend time with his family, and let Parker and Caballero fight, and then the winner gets and the winner gets Usyk, and then I don't know, because who else? You've got Hrgovic, who's just beat David Adelaide. Moses versus Hrgovic. It technically makes sense because they both just fought on the same card, so they're both going to be ready around the same time. Well, to be fair, Hrgovic took a nasty cut, so he's probably got a nice little suspension there. But that could be a fight to make. I mean, if you let Parker and Caballero swing it out, and yeah, if you let Parker Caballero swing it out for the next shot at Usyk, do you do Hrgovic? Do you do Hrgovic Atalma? I think that could be the way to go. That could be the way forward, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I think that's probably. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how that plays out, but I still back Moses in that. I mean, yeah, if Hrgovic comes in fighting how he did just then against Adelaide, Moses will get rid of him fast, so fast. He'll just get rid of him. There's not many fighters that will be able to stay in there like that. There isn't. Now, why was Moses Atalma able to do that to Dillian Whyte? There's multiple factors. Dillian's age. Whether he was in the best shape of his career, which he arguably was, Dillian Whyte speaking, like, he probably was in the best shape of his career. But were they focusing on the wrong things, like the weight, etc.? Were they focusing on the weight and forgetting other things, part of like Moses' game, etc.? Who knows? Nobody knows what goes on inside the camp other than Dillian Whyte and obviously his team. But the age will have an effect. The way he came out will have an effect. The way Moses fight will have an effect. And I think that's literally what happened. It's just Moses. He's a freak. He actually is. That's the only way I can kind of like justify why he was able to do that to Dillian Whyte. Now, would he have been able to do that to Dillian Whyte 5 years ago? Moses now versus Dillian 5 years ago? He probably could, to be fair. Maybe not as early, but he definitely could, but not that early, I would think. But it's just the way he fights, the way he's just in, the way he manages to get in range, throw shots, then be out of range so fast. Like honestly, the way he moves, it's so weird to watch. Like the only way it can, for me, I can describe it, like what I can base what his movement reminds me of, is kind of like a Fury, like an in prime Fury. The way he can just be there when he wants to be and just get out when he wants to be, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like you know the game plan, you just can't do anything about it. That's kind of how I felt watching Moses for as long as he was in there for against Dillian Whyte. I feel like Dillian Whyte couldn't predict what he was going to do because the body shots, the combinations came so fast. It's not like he was just picking one shot. The shots, he was throwing 3 shots at the time it would take to throw one clean one. Like it is crazy to watch. It is so mental because a funny story. I actually got my mum to watch this because I said to her, I was like, "Do you know who Moses Atalma is?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, you're gonna want to know who that is because she come up loving AJ and Tyson Fury. She loves the Englishmen dominating the sports, etc. in boxing." And so I said, "You need to watch Moses now." I was like, "If you haven't watched him before, you need to watch him right now because it's only going to get better." And she was stunned just as well as I was. I mean, she didn't understand obviously the more fundamental side of things, but she took things at face value, as in he's 20 years old. She knew Dillian Whyte from when AJ fought him and Fury fought him. She knew Dillian Whyte from that. and like she was kind of thrown back. Like she doesn't really understand as much when it comes to like the age and stuff, like how it creeps up to you in boxing. She just saw that, oh well, Dillian, like Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury weren't able to do that to him. Like it must mean that this guy is like amazing. Into her some sort of that context, yeah, she's actually kind of right. Like bar the age and everything like that she doesn't understand, but how amazing he is, yes, she's right, 100%. And I feel like a lot of the younger generation now, where they were so caught up on Jake Paul, KSI, all these sort of misfits fighters and stuff that had like energy and that freshness, now have Moses Atalma. My nephew was watching the fight. He texted me just before and he texted me after. And then one thing that actually kind of made me realize, oh wow, like he's getting noticed is my nephew saying that Moses is like favorite fighter. Like he's his favorite fighter. So that's nice to see a younger generation spot Moses, because you look for these people that are gonna front run the sport of boxing and combat sports to motivate the younger generation to come up a different way and find these sort of sports. And yeah, I mean, Archie, if you're watching, shout out to you. But yeah, Moses, I think he's going to be attracting the right eyes, the right fan base at such a young age. I just really hope it doesn't get to him and ruin him, because it does happen to fighters. It generally does. They have a name and they can't kind of live up to the expectations. But I feel like it's inevitable when it comes to Moses Atalma, because I feel like he's got a old head on young shoulders. He's the wisdom up there for his age is crazy. The way Dillian White kept him waiting for the walkout, he knew what he was doing. He knew it. And Moses did look kind of frustrated, but not as frustrated as Ben Davison and Frank Warren, etc. Like all around, they all were more frustrated than Moses. Moses was actually like kind of chill about it. Like he was doing his stretches, keeping warm. So the experience showing very young. And if anything, Dillian White just prolonged the inevitable, really, didn't he? I mean, that would have been pretty cold if he'd done that and then ended up getting the victory over Moses, but here we are. We've got a great fighter on our hands. The UK, what are we thinking? What are we thinking about Moses? I know the UK, we've kind of adopted Joe Parker, we kind of have, but to have one with our blood and one of our very own in, what the hell is that doing there? One of our own in Moses. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. It's exciting, it's refreshing as well. The sequence of how the fight ended. You'll see down below the way he glides in, lands shots very aware of anything coming back or the position that he's in, if something's going to go the right way or the wrong way. The way he just glides in and the instinct, one glazes past kind of the top of the head but towards the temple and just puts him off balance. See, I say put off balance quite mildly, because actually I really think he shut the equilibrium down. Because where it was kind of like on the temple, but it kind of like glanced down towards like the ear, so you can kind of tell that kind of was the equilibrium. Like it just shut down, and they're dangerous ones. They're ones you don't come back from. You can even catch those in sparring. Like you generally can, even with headgear. Like you generally can. 16-ounce gloves with headgear, you can still catch an equilibrium shot that really throws you off, and you're never really the same for a good minute. Like for a good, I'm not even saying just a minute. I mean, it can generally take you a couple of rounds to get full back there. Like even longer. It generally can. Some people are different. Depends on the wear and tear. Um, but yeah, lands like that, and then a combination land straight after. To be honest, I could have seen it being stopped earlier than that, without Dillian flatlining, landing face first, um, and then being stopped, counted out. Sorry, I could have seen it. I wouldn't have been mad if it stopped earlier. Let's just say that. I feel like there was definitely room for that, but I don't know what else to say other than none of us were actually expecting that. If you did, I mean, fair play to you, but I don't know. It's those sort of fights, yeah, which I said on the build-up, I would love to have gone and watched, but at the same time, kind of glad you didn't because you're only there for a few seconds. You know what I mean? Like, well, you're there for a couple of minutes, but what's next for Dillian Whyte? Hang it up? I see somebody else say that they wouldn't mind seeing a Joe Joyce. Oh, that's it, Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora said that he wouldn't mind seeing a Joe Joyce versus Dillian Whyte farewell fight. I fully agree with that. 100% agree with that. That's a fight that I would actually really enjoy watching because they're both fighters that on the back end of their career. Joe Joyce was kind of facing the inevitable anyway as he was getting older because he joined boxing late. He had very early success because of the power, and the reaction time was actually quite sharp when it comes to this. But as he was getting older, it was kind of dropping, and he's been known for taking heavy shots and being able to walk forward and land his heavy shots. Like, that's why they call him the Juggernaut. But I feel like that's caught up on him now. I feel like his chin is very chinny, if that makes sense. I feel like you could probably do him in a jab. If you've got a good jab, I feel like you could do him with it. It's tough, really, isn't it? Because you don't want to say another fight is done because it's not your career, it's not your body to decide that. But as a fan, you kind of do have a place in the say that you don't want to see him go on too far. Like, I'm only going to say this now. If it's not just boxing fans here and it's MMA fans watching this as well, you'll know how I feel when I say I don't want to see Tony Ferguson fight Salt Papi. I don't want to see that. The only way I want to see that is if Tony knocks him clean out. I do not want to see him get knocked out by a guy that does slow-mo running. I don't want to. But Dillian Whyte, Joe Joyce, farewell fight. I want to see it. I think it should be done. And let Dillian Whyte take over the career for Fabio Wardley. I feel like he'll be a very good presence and body in a young Fabio Wardley's career because it's going to be very hard for Fabio to come up now with the class and the level of boxers that we have in the heavyweight division now that actually box. And for somebody like Fabio Wardley that came through the ultra white collar scene, it's very hard when you're missing that level pedigree in the amateurs to come through, especially when there's competition like this. It's mental. But yeah, Moza Talma, well done. I mean, you've surprised all of us, not only Brits, but all of us all over the world. You've gave boxing excitement and a healthy excitement in that as well. And I'm definitely looking forward to your next fight, whoever it may be. I really hope I mean, it can only go up here, can't it? You can't come down the bottom of the pile. You can't fight Dillian Whyte and then fight a Starbucks worker who worked there 10 years ago and is now dishing out the cold brews and Starbies. You can't really fight guys like that, can you? So it's obviously only going to be only ways up. I look forward to who the next opponent is. And best believe we're going to break it down on here and we're going to react to that on here. That's for damn sure. But I'm going to leave that video right here. I just want to say thank you for coming across another video. And I do want to say thank you for your continued support, for the views, the subscribing, all of it, the likes, the engagement. I just want to say thanks to you all. Yeah. But for, as always, please do not forget to like this video, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel down below. It will be linked towards the end of the video. But yeah, if you subscribe, if you like the video, massively appreciated. But yeah, I'll catch you at the next one. Whoosh.